please, don't try anything that you're about to see us do at home. Ever.
On this combustible episode of MythBusters.
Oh, that's pretty.
Adam and Jamie try a little tenderness.
Red meat and high explosives.
They're testing the myth that blasting the heck out of low-grade steak with high explosives makes it so much softer.
Awesome. I love results.
Then Carrie gets to torture Grant and Tori.
I knew that we were going to make him angry, but I didn't realize he'd be this angry.
To see if stressed-out drivers really do use more gas.
Where did those rats go?
I didn't know.
Who are the MythBusters? Adam Savage.
Hail, people of Earth.
And Jamie Heineman.
Mush.
Between them, more than 30 years of special effects experience.
These things are always catching on fire.
Joining them, Carrie Byron.
I feel so sci-fi.
Grant Imahara.
Warning.
And Tori Belashi.
All right, release the hound.
They don't just tell the myths, they put them to the test.
I thought we talked about doing that while you were at work.
Oh, Jamie, mon frère. You know, many fans have written to us over the years and said, MythBusters, is the hammer the best way to tenderize my steak? Now, thanks to a viewer submission, we may have a new technique. For we might replace this avec this. The question we'll be answering is, can you tenderize a steak with explosives? Oh, it went out.
Over the years, we've used explosives to answer all sorts of vital questions. Can they clear a clogged up cement truck? Can they help cushion a fall? And can they make a surfable wave? Now it's time to open the fridge on combustible condiments.
So, Adam, if we're using explosives on steaks, wouldn't it just blow up the steak?
I'm going to go without the accent now, okay? It's too hard.
Okay.
Okay, no, it won't. In fact, the technique we'll be testing involves putting the meat into a vacuum-sealed bag, putting that into a barrel of water, and then detonating a small amount of explosives in the water. The theory is that the shockwave created by the explosive will actually tear apart micro-tissue fibers within the meat, rendering it a heck of a lot more tender.
A steak's tenderness depends very much on where it's cut from the cow. Meat from the short ribs is super soft. Meat from the neck and the rump, not so squishy. It's all due to the strength of the connective tissue between muscle fibers. The weaker the tissue, the softer the meat. Two common ways to break those bonds are powdered pineapple enzymes and a sound thrashing. But the fans want to see this third method thoroughly investigated.
If you're going to tenderize meat with explosives, it's not like you're just going to throw a stick of dynamite on the steak and expect it to work. You've got to put it in water because the water's actually going to transmit the pressure of the blast wave a lot more effectively. And you also don't want to contaminate the meat. You've got to seal it in something. So we're going to vacuum bag this meat in some really tough plastic.
These crash test steaks are all relatively low-grade select cuts, so there's plenty of room for improvement. They're sealed and delivered, not to the kitchen, but the bomb range.
By popular demand, today we are joining two of my favorite things. Red meat and high explosives.
What we're creating here is a shock wave that is traveling at supersonic speeds, and it is just ripping apart all those little fibers that make up the muscle of the meat, hence it's tender.
As to how much explosive they need, well, they'll find that out by trial and error.
Tenderizing steak with explosives in 3, 2, 1.
Jamie, I think that was too much explosives.
Some chefs add too much salt. Some go nuts with the garlic. But Frank's added way too much C4. What can you say? This recipe is just plain wrong.
Everything else is gone, but the steak is here. Sort of.
So while Adam and Jamie recalibrate, let's jumpstart our second myth.
Okay, I'm relaxed. But what does a shoulder massage have to do with fuel efficiency?
Well, according to this myth, the idea is that if you're driving and you're relaxed and you're happy, you'll save a lot more fuel than if you're angry and stressed out.
So if you want to save fuel, don't drive angry.
Precisely.
It's a widely accepted fact that bad driving habits like stopping and starting abruptly result in less fuel efficiency. But could the simple act of driving stressed turn an otherwise careful motorist into a gas guzzler?
You know, I really like the sound of the Smith. And we get to relax, kick back, and then take a little drive. You know, it's not going to be all easy, though. It sounds like we're going to have to get stressed out, too.
Oh, yeah, in fact, I think it's going to be dangerous, so we're not going to do this on the road. We're going to go to an abandoned neighborhood, and I'm going to set up a course.
And this is the test track, a once thriving California suburb that someone pulled the plug on.
This is Cypress Knolls. It's an abandoned military housing neighborhood, and the city of Marina has agreed to let us use it. And there are plenty of neighborhood streets, and we are going to be tearing around these streets to see if you use more fuel when you drive stressed.
These streets haven't seen traffic for 15 years. So for the test car, we've gone retro rusty.
So this is the car that we're going to use for our test. Now, it's pretty old, and it doesn't get great gas mileage, but that doesn't matter. What we're trying to test here is whether or not driving stressed out or driving calm has a difference on whether or not you use more fuel.
And to get a precise reading on fuel usage, they'll bypass the car's gas tank for a gas bag.
What we're doing is measuring the fuel before and after, but not by volume, but actually by weight, so that it's more precise.
Now for a few practice laps, just to get a feel for the car and the old neighborhood.
All right, who goes first?
Rochambeau.
All right.
Dynamite.
There's no dynamite. No, you're pointing at me. That means I go first.
Carrie's marked out a 4-mile course that, like most racetracks, finally brings you back to where you started. Grant's the first to try a test lap.
Approaching playground, on right.
On the playground, on right, then turn left.
Then Tori tries cruising the cul-de-sacs.
It's like a modern-day ghost town.
Turn left on Lindsay Street, then arrive at Smashed Computers.
All right, looking for smashed computers. Does this GPS sound condescending, or is it just me? Am I the only one that feels this way?
Turn right on 4th Avenue.
I'm the sole survivor. I'm searching for a lone survivor. Hopefully it's a female so I can start procreating.
That's enough of that, though it might surprise Tori to learn that a rather more wholesome fantasy awaits him just around the corner. Coming up, a low-rent, celebrity-packed cook-off.
Some of it is better than others.
And Carrie feels the strain as Grant and Tori calm way down.
At this rate, I might fall asleep at the wheel and crash the car.
Home on the bomb range. Adam and Janie are testing a viewer myth that low-grade steaks can be tenderized with high explosives. So far, it's a total bust.
Now we're going to pull it all the way back in the other direction and detonate what is essentially an extra-large firecracker full of aluminized black powder, which is a fairly low-speed explosive as opposed to what we just used.
It requires a fuse to light it. Now, getting a fuse to light into water is not undoable, but it's a little finicky.
Finicky for some, but for JD, it's just like shooting fish in a barrel.
That was a nice little blast.
It sure was. The bucket's destroyed. But more importantly, how's the steak?
Well, that went perfect. The explosion went off, and we didn't ruin our bag of meat. Now, I can't tell anything specific just by touching this meat. The proof in any improvement in texture is really going to be in the cooking.
1, 2, 3.
The bag's intact, so the steak's still good to eat. Even better, they've tracked down someone at the Department of Agriculture who says he knows how to blast a steak to perfection.
And they say that we've got to put a steel plate at the bottom of the barrel. We have to suspend it in the air, and they gave us the precise amount of explosives we have to use. So that's what we're going to do.
In a few minutes, we should have very tasty meat.
And just for the record, this one goes back to using high explosives.
So we've done Baby Bear and we've done Papa Bear. This is Goldilocks, right?
This is the recommended recipe in 3, 2, 1.
Oh, look at that.
Moon times for fans of exploding meat. And just like last time, the steak is
Not breached.
and that means it's time to get cooking. As the sun goes down, the Barbie fires up. So let's meet the meat.
Now, the first one is a low-grade steak. It's not been altered or tenderized in any way. The second one is that same low-grade steak, but we've tenderized it with a low explosive. The third one, we've tenderized with a high explosive. And the fourth one, we've tenderized with a pineapple enzyme commercial preparation. Now, the last one is a prime steak that's been aged 28 days. We're going to test all of these and see which one is the most tender.
And so as not to influence the results, Adam adds a touch of color.
We have 5 different cuts of meat to cook and test. Each of those cuts of meat has been assigned a color, which matches to these pans and our little taste test bowls here.
To ensure there's no bias from the Barbie, steak chef Joe Cohn cooks all 5 cuts just the same. And another celebrity chef has been invited to dine in the dirt.
We're bringing in Ron Siegel, who's the chef at the Ritz-Carlton, and he's the only American ever to win the Japanese Iron Chef program. Ron, thanks for coming on to help us out.
Thanks for coming out to the bomb range.
Yeah, thank you.
Let the chewing commence.
Steak's good. Some of it is better than others.
I'm done. So, drum roll, please. 3 different tasters and 3 totally different results. For this myth to be true, the order should be red, yellow, blue, pink, then green. But no one agreed on anything. And that's got Adam worried.
Even though we had 5 different samples here, the main thing we wanted to see was that the green, the high explosive tenderized meat, would be rated higher than the red, our control. And even though I did that, neither Ron nor Jamie felt like that. So right now, it's not looking that good for this myth. Let's get back to the shop and crunch the numbers. I'm cold.
All right. Is there any more steak left?
Here's a few simple rules for safe driving. Don't do it drunk, distracted, or stressed. Aside from the danger, driving under duress might add to your fuel bill. And that's today's motoring myth. Later on, we'll try to redline Grant and Tori's stress levels.
Ah, you suck!
But first, we need a nice, calm comparison test. And Carrie knows just how to put the boys into a mellow mood.
Grant, for you, we have puppies. Tori, for you, we have the director's cut of Blade Runner and all your favorite desserts.
I don't want to leave.
These are the fluffiest puppies we could find. They're 8 weeks old.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, I think we've done Grant's happy, please.
While Grant gets acquainted with his extra fluffy puppies, Tori slips next door for a pre-movie massage.
This is the best day of MythBusters ever.
Tori's the first cab off this restricted rank with precisely 2,500 grams of gasoline. Now, for the first of 3 nasty surprises as he learns he's not alone out there.
Go, angry driver. Good job, angry driver. Awesome.
What's that guy's hurry?
Q, slow driver. Over.
Oh, look at this guy.
Carrie's added these distractions to simulate a typically frustrating day on the road.
He's overtaking the slow driver.
Yeah, that was annoying.
That doesn't seem very calm.
Now, let's see the response to one very annoying pedestrian.
Ah. There you go.
Nice San Francisco park. I like the bumper bump.
That's what they call them bumpers.
Nice. Okay, well now I'm gonna weigh your fuel and see how much you've actually used up, and then we'll have something to compare.
Cool.
So Tori's used 924 grams of fuel. Next step is to top this back off to exactly 2,500 and start the test again with Grant. All right, the birdie has flown the nest. That means Grant's gone.
Do you make this stuff up or is somebody writing it down for you?
There's a writer's strike in my head.
Imagine the bush. All right, then turn right.
Okay, that's angry driver. Can you hear him honking?
Oh, I can hear him honking.
Grant takes both the angry and the slow drivers in his sedate stride. He's been told to stick to a safe speed, and that's no problem at all.
That is funny.
Now for the parallel park. Grant's so relaxed, it takes him a minute to find his inner rage.
Is this attempt number 9? Oh! This isn't fair. Now you're starting to piss me off. Oh, see? It's getting... Oh, yeah, that was real smooth. There you go.
Carrie weighs Grant's remaining gasoline and comes up with a figure she wasn't expecting.
All right, Grant used 1,053 grams, which is actually quite a bit more than Tori. But that's not what's important here. They're testing against themselves. So what is important is how much they use in their calm test versus how much they use in their stress test.
And how exactly does one go about turning two very relaxed dudes into quivering wrecks? Oh, this is going to be fun. We're about to find out.
All right, guys. We know one of the most stressful things about driving is having to go to the bathroom and not being able to.
Sweet.
So you're gonna have to drink caffeine all day and the potty's off limits.
After the break, low-grade meat gets a ballistic makeover. Here's the exploding steak story so far. Adam, Jamie, and one of America's best chefs can't agree on which steak is more tender. The prime cut, the one sprinkled with pineapple enzymes, or those we've blasted to hell and back.
I don't know what to do with this one. I'm dumbfounded. We clearly have too many variables in the mix because we could run this test a dozen more times, and I don't think we'd come up with results that agreed with each other.
Yeah, I think having humans involved is the problem. We need to have a mechanical, purely objective test. And for that matter, you know, I was thinking about it, and there got to be a lot of other ways that we can tenderize meat.
Like what?
What say we fire it out of a cannon at a steel plate? That ought to tenderize it.
I love it. Let's do it.
Jamie's got the plan, the hardware, and the real estate to build a cannon as long as a 4-story building is high. As a tenderizer, it's total overkill, and that's why we're doing it. Today's target is simply meant to stop the steak cold.
That is our target.
It's a toughened steel plate Jamie calls the flower of death.
Now, this is going to be a very sturdy catching device for our steak tenderizing. We're going to be shooting a Kevlar burrito full of meat at it, and hopefully this will help prevent it from just spraying all over the room.
To get a fair comparison between unmodified meat and cannon con carne, Adams cut each steak in two. One half gets blasted, and the other, control cut, doesn't.
So your very rational question might be, why go through all the trouble to make every steak its own control? See the white parts here? That's marbleization. That's fat and connective tissue. Now, while a good portion of this makes the steak delicious, it also makes it inconsistent. That's why we're going steak to steak. Every single steak is tested against itself for evidence of improvement.
That testing will eventually be done by a highly sophisticated machine that promises indisputable results. Meantime, we've got some steaks to shoot. The 4-cylinder air pressure charge is set, and Jamie estimates the potential velocity at over 400 miles per hour.
Tenderizing meat, when you're ready.
In 3, 2, 1.
Oh, shoot. Well, this is actually through the other side. There's your problem. Some meat-soaked Kevlar on the other side.
This is only part of it. I'm missing some.
I think it seems prudent to recalibrate the pressure.
What's the PSI you want to go to?
I'm backing it down a third to 100 PSI.
It's not going to make a single bit of difference. I'm going to bet you that it's not going to make a single. It's going to obliterate it. You want to bet?
No.
20. I got $20. $20?
Well,
Anyone want to give me some action?
But Jamie made this cannon. And hey, let's not forget who runs the joint. So he calls the shots.
this time we're using 4 times the Kevlar. We've backed off the pressure about a third to 100 PSI. We'll see what happens. Firing in 3, 2, 1.
Uh-oh.
Well, there's the outer layer. That's hard on that thing.
Here's the inner layer.
Once again, this New York strip's been less tenderized than pulverized. But there is hope amongst the carnage.
Here's its other half, unmodified. I'm going to cook both of these, freeze them again, test them, and see if there's any improvement.
First off, both cuts are cooked precisely.
So the magic temperature here is 70 degrees Celsius. When it's 70 degrees at the middle of the steak, I've reached the USDA standard for cooking a steak for testing.
Once they're cooked, the steaks need to be cooled to 4 degrees Celsius.
Modified cooked. Here's another steak for you, Jamie.
Adam needs more than one sample, and Jamie's happy to fill the order.
Firing in 3, 2, 1.
At 340 miles per hour, it looks like we finally found our range.
It's totally intact.
It's almost enough to inspire yet another change of career.
I can see it now. I start a restaurant, it's Jamie's cannon-fired steak. You know, you place your order, and then a few seconds later, there's this big whoosh.
Next up, tough raw steak gets tumble tender. And Carrie drives her boys to distraction.
I'm not stressed. I'm totally fine.
Please, don't try anything you're about to see us do at home. Ever.
There are several simple ways to tenderize a substandard steak, but we want to find a way that's both effective and, well, unexpected. For those with limited access to high explosives or 40-foot cannons, turn left at the kitchen and head for the laundry.
So the first thing I thought of was a dryer, because, you know, it's that kind of motion, and if you put a steak or anything you want to tenderize in there, sooner or later it's got to loosen all those fibers up and make it nice and tender.
Sounds straightforward, but to make it work, the dryer needs some modifications.
Okay, so that's the slit right there. If we put that over that thing.
This is dry ice, and this is going to pour down into our dryer and hopefully keep the meat cold while it gets tumbled. Yeah, let's do it.
And to keep the meat company, a generous helping of tenderizing ball berries.
To the chagrin of our sound guy, we're throwing it in the dryer, a whole bunch of them, and see what that does to the meat overnight.